Feeling psyched?
Yeah, I actually am.
There he goes.
Going somewhere different in a place that isn't sort of pegged as the place to go. We wanted to try and do something in a place that people don't really think of or go to. And I was really psyched on that.
The objectives, I guess, because this was so exploratory, weren't particularly clear. We're going to do some bouldering and we'll try and do some trad. I wanted to kind of try and engage with people out there. I guess through sport, you can kind of cross cultures and boundaries and just enjoy this kind of activity, which doesn't really have a purpose, it's just fun.
We both kind of liked the idea of new routing. We weren't sure how many people we would take. Ryan and I are not, you know, pros in any shape or fashion. We're enthusiastic, but that's about it. We wanted someone who climbs, you know, comfortably in the sevens, higher if possible.
I've met Ryan and Astrid through the University of Nottingham Climbing Club, and I guess they thought I'm one of the more experienced people that they could actually approach and see if I would be interested in joining them and help them establish something in West Africa.
Alkis has the world's worst sense of fashion, mixing pink and green on a regular basis. He's super awesome, super reliable.
Alkis, we've just climbed up the top of this boulder. Why are we climbing again?
Two reasons. One, there is a lovely route here. Two, I left the rope up there.
You didn't even coil it, you just left it in the mess at the top.
I met Astrid whilst climbing at the depot in Nottingham. She's a really solid climber, very tenacious, boneheaded in the sense that she won't leave a problem alone once she started it, which is really inspiring to see.
Oh. Come on. If we come back tomorrow, I think it might happen.
Ryan, who can only really describe as strong and cocky.
He climbs things that I hate, and I climb things that he hates. But we've got a really good dynamic, and I think we're a good team.
Our friend Gordon, he had to pull out because he was a traitor. He's training to be a doctor and he had some medical exams that got in the way of the trip. So yeah, I replaced him as the medical expert, do some of my training and bolting things together as a mechanical engineer. I thought maybe I could do that to people. But we replaced him with a plastic mascot in the end. So he did make it to the trip.
And then there's Matt, who's an amazing addition to the team. What he brings in terms of his photography and videography skills are second to none. But above that, he's just a super awesome, sound, nice dude.
So Mike and Yasant acted as our guides on the trip. Mike is a very sort of outgoing, loud, very competent guy.
Yeah.
Yasant is quite a different person. He's a lot more reserved, very polite, very soft-spoken, and has some sort of nearly magical way of diplomacy where he would just talk to people and get things arranged and done.
What's your name? What is your name? My name is Kwasi.
Mike is very kind of boisterous and kind of getting things done, whereas Yasant was much more talkative, and he would like a conversation would go on for hours. But it was very, very diplomatic, never a raised tone. He's very soft-spoken.
The trip would be either very different or outright not possible without their help.
We decided to travel by bus from Abidjan to Mont, which we were told was like a 6 or 7 hour journey. That means it's going to be at least 10. Under the circumstances, I thought this is going to be a long journey.
Because of some local celebration and the fact that New Year's was coming up, everything was super busy, including the actual coaches themselves. And you cannot really book them in advance as such. You do get tickets in advance, but it is a free-for-all we're getting on. And if one is full, you get the next one.
But there's another probably good 7-8 hours of road to go.
In the morning, when we woke up, we found, wow, we're in a far more mountainous region than we were before. You can see the tooth from here, and you can see loads of crags around, you can see loads of boulders around, and everyone is smiling. What is this place?
It's a lot more hilly and kind of mountainous than I expected. I thought it would be flatter, and then there'll be 1 or 2 like sort of outcroppings, but it is all around us. There's hills and mountains, small ones. And they each seem to have at least 1 crag on them. Like you can see one over there, you can see one at the top over there, you can see the tooth on the other side, and there are some boulders that are clearly within private property. But it's quite interesting that there's this much rock, and you just think of how much potential there must. I mean, we haven't actually had a look at it yet, but you'd imagine there's quite a bit of potential here.
From the hotel we could see the Dent de Man, which is this peak we were going after, and that was really cool to be able to see it through the haze.
When you just see that piece of rock on a photo, you know, there has to be something up there, and I have to go find it and climb it.
So what we're doing now is we're reconstructing the bouldering pads, which we had to reshape to get into the hold luggage, and putting them back in their bouldering pads.
The issue we came across when trying to actually get these pads here was that the airline do dimensions of luggage based on the sum of individual dimensions rather than the overall volume. If we just fold it and then stack all of the foam together, we're ending up with the same volume packed in a much more sensible package. Even after all of this, these pads are still, what, 4 kilos? So considering that most airlines do like 23 kilo baggage, there is a lot of weight that can go in these. And that's it. That's how we brought 5 Psyche pads down to sub-Saharan Africa without having to pay for oversized luggage.
Oh, get tapping.
Part of the research before going out there, we needed to find somewhere that actually did have rock of some kind, and the only thing we had to go by was sort of UKC forums and sort of the European equivalent. We used Google Earth a lot to kind of try and find places with rock. Ryan had the idea of having a look in the Bodleian Library at Oxford. When you think of like, oh, I'll go to the library, when you're asking about the geology of Ivory Coast, your initial thought is there's no way they're going to come up with anything super useful. As it turns out, they did have very useful things. They have a proper geological map, and this was kind of a physical map that we could look at and touch. We could really see the region, and we knew from Google Earth like approximately where the peak would be vis-a-vis Mont, and so we could kind of figure out what kind of rock we would be looking at, and it was granite, which is a really good sign.
It was good rock. Immediate thing was, this is good rock, we need to climb some of it.
very first boulder we went to, kind of a slabby, smooth boulder that had one particularly obvious line on it. That's something for me, it illustrated that it was possible to climb in such a remote place.
Well done, Astrid. The rock is actually remarkably sticky even though it's warm as hell. Around 5-ish grade-wise. Like, hard enough to not be a complete mistake.
Basically, no one's done anything but look at these boulders. So there's lots of crystals. It's also a really coarse-grained granite.
One of the biggest concerns we had before coming out was like the rock quality and how ready it will be to climb, but we've been really lucky. We've turned up and we've basically not had to do anything to the rock at all because it's like baked all the time. There's just no vegetation on it and it's pretty much ready to climb. Awesome rock quality, nice features.
They were fairly clean. Occasionally there were some little loose flakes and the like, because when you have something that's in the sun a lot, you can end up with a crust forming from all the thermal expansion.
No, the rock was just there, ready to be climbed. On the most part, I think we had one piece of rock fall off, and it happened to catch Ryan on the chin. It was quite fun.
There's this really annoying sit-start problem, which had a big undercut, putting on it really hard, and then it just came off.
Oh, that just caught me right in the chin.
I missed my tooth by about 2 or 3 centimeters because it definitely would have knocked it out.
How is your chin?
Sore.
Yes. Come on, Ollie.
Yes.
Yes, man. Good, man.
It's mostly one move, but it's good to figure out like deciding the line yourself.
Brushing everything off because it's just not on to leave loads of chalk all over the place and boulders that were, well, not chalky before.
We are converting Mike to be a climber and he's about to probably destroy us all. Put him on like some campusy overhang and he's gonna absolutely wipe the floor.
Voilà, grimpe avec les pieds et ensuite tu peux faire monter le pied sur le rebord.
Lentement.
Pose bien le pied sur la grande voilà. Respire.
Mike, si tu as sweat, utilise la magnèse.
Okay.
Si tu transpires, utilise la poudre.
Ok.
Tu es sur, tu vois le rebord où tu as le pied là.
Ouais.
Ça, utilise le bord de la chaussure.
Ouais.
Ouais.
Ouais, allez. Viens. Allez, Mike. Allez. Allez. Oui. Très bien. Bien fait.
Hey.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
Bravo. C'est pas facile.
C'est pas facile, hein. Vous avez du boulot là.
Tu avais peur?
Oh, bon, pas peur, mais...
Jamais.
Voilà. Mais c'est le système qui est chez moi.
One of Ryan's ideas to see how viable bouldering is in Cote d'Ivoire is see whether you can get enough materials to build some sort of pad. So a bouldering pad consists of 3 elements: soft foam that is used for the main energy absorption, some hard foam to spread the load onto the soft foam so that you don't bottom out straight through it and break your leg, and something to cover it and actually make it into a structure that you can fold and carry around.
We'd seen loads of mattress shops just walking around, so we knew there was foam of some description there, so that was a good start. We went on the hunt for some high density foam, basically trying to build like a Western style bouldering pad.
We could not really find any hard foam, but what we decided our option was is to make a mat with that foam, coated with flooring tarpaulin, and on one side, the actual landing side, put many layers of it so that it can spread the load a little bit and you can't just pierce the foam with your foot.
Monsieur, c'est parfait. Merci beaucoup.
We got a local craftsman that Yesant knew to build the actual outer.
This guy's a 4th dan Type 1B black belt.
They did an amazing job. worked pretty well as a crash pad, and it's not far off what people used to use before modern pads were actually created.
Really neat, really tidy. Why didn't you get a handle?
Yeah.
And we wanted to do more than just climb out there. I thought it would be a shame to go somewhere and just climb and then leave and just kind of be tourists doing their own thing in their little world. And we wanted to engage with people a bit more. We thought it would be interesting to go to kind of a high school and talk about it. A lot of them had never really heard of climbing. Some of them had heard of alpinism, but introducing them to this sport and kind of using the Olympics to kind of engage them and to show them that it's not just some weird kind of niche sport. I mean, it is, but it's kind of a way in because everyone's heard of the Olympics. We'd found some boulders we thought were really good for teaching someone the basics of climbing. I was surprised at the number of people who wanted to try climbing. They all loved it, but once they were doing it, they really engaged with it because it's kind of a cool challenge is get to the top of something.
Ça va? Ça peut être facile. Mais depuis. Lâche pas. Non, lâche pas. Oh.
It's kind of a scary sport when you do it for the first time. You're like, ooh, I don't want to fall off here. And these guys were just like going for it.
Allez. La gauche. Oui, let's go. Vas-y.
People were dancing on tops of boulders. Once they finished, they were helping each other down on the descents. It was really, really good atmosphere.
A lot of them tried really, really hard. And they're all very strong as well. Just baseline strength was mind-blowing.
There's like some good camaraderie, like everyone's calling for each other and trying to get everyone up it, which is nice. Some of them listen about technique and then some of them don't. It tends to be proportional to their height and their strength, I think.
The maman who lives here, she makes food that's delicious, so we've ordered sauce pan.
Je suis désolée du retard, on avait rendez-vous à l'école.
Mike.
Yeah, merci.
Whoa.
We brought a hell of a lot of gear with us and we're deciding what to take and what not to take, and a lot of the time it's going to be me a bit more of a minimalist arguing with Alkis about what we may or may not need, what could potentially destroy the trip from us not having it up there, or what could save us by actually getting everything into the bags.
Although having now walked up there once, I'm not taking that much convincing to say no, we're not fucking taking this. Thanks. So this is 2 rope protectors here. This is one. I've never used these. I've used this once. Yeah, I can imagine what would have happened to the rope had it not been there. I was very confident that we'd find a way up the tooth. What I was not certain about was whether to find a quality way up the tooth. Going further left, there are some low-angle slabs that you could, well, basically pad up, which would be quite run out, but definitely doable. But that wouldn't really be a very satisfying line. So that was the biggest worry. But when we got there and actually found a line that was really good, it was amazing. He has found a line.
There's an off with.
yeah, it has an off-width on it. Good thing I actually convinced him not to leave the big cams down, because he said it uses both of them. I couldn't quite tell if the corner had the crack in the back or not. And because of how compact the granite is in this area, I was actually suspecting that it did not, and I was bricking it a little bit. But as it turns out, that is a crack, which means that there's definitely a line and it's definitely climbable, and there's gear on it, which is really good.
Once we determined where we were sort of going to try and climb, it became clear that we needed to clean, and because there's a lot of mud, Ollie had been down there and it said, well, there's a line, but it needs a lot of cleaning, and there's issues about how long that was going to take, and the fact that we couldn't do it during the daytime because it was too hot. So we had a long discussion about what we should do about that, and it was decided that I would go down and clean the next morning.
The wind carries dust from the Sahara and it just cakes the rock face with it, so it looked like black slippery granite, and it was actually underneath it with a brush with golden granite that had just about enough grip on to take some of these holds and to climb it.
The off-width crack had some vegetation in it that would need clearing, and there being vegetation means that there will probably be some loose rock in there that would need to arrange in a way that can't possibly be knocked out.
As time went on, I just kept thinking, oh, do we have time to figure out the moves? You know, is this even climbable, like if you put shoes on? Just heading down to try and see if there's a line for the bottom half of the tooth, or the lower incisor as we're calling it. We don't know if it's there, but we're going to give it one last shot and see if we can find something.
We're currently reviewing match drone footage. We've got a bit of an issue that we found an upper pitch which looks really promising, very protectable, about our kind of payload without the need for bolts. It's just trying to find a first initial lower pitch which would come into that and would go. We found a very kind of rambly, slabby thing, but which would be basically a solo, and would be a bit problematic without bolting. So now we're just trying to see if we can avoid bolting and find a line of some description, so that we can link up the two pitches.
Right, so I'm on the midway ledge of the climb, and I finally arranged an abseil. So I'm about to go down to the next bit and see if there is a line. So far it looks promising, because the corner of the ledge has an actual crack. So fingers crossed this crack is going to continue a fair way down, and should be able to then get to the bottom of these slabs. At that point the sun had actually started properly baking the slab and myself. So I made the tactical decision to abseil to the bottom and then walk around, thinking this is going to be much less of an effort than Jumaring 90 meters of rope.
He's lying, he forgot his Juma.
Yeah, okay, I was not going to say that, but I did actually forget my Juma. Dashing through jungle, or well, whatever the hell this is, it's really tiring.
I ended up pretty much exactly where I expected to, just much later than expected.
You have to see the footage from the GoPro. About an hour of me going to the jungle.
I hadn't thought about too much who was going to do what section. We were just sort of trying to get the whole thing pieced together as a jigsaw in our heads. So that was figuring out how to climb the slab section and making sure all the other parts were clean.
The slabs run out. The slab, but it's good. There's like feet and hands. It's just not protected.
You specifically the bit.
So a cam
directly underneath the pod, where it goes slightly steeper before it enters the pod.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a bit blank.
Well,
other than pulling on the tufts of grass.
No. I definitely saw.
I've got rid of them.
Okay.
I was looking for a crack.
There's a couple of side pulls and some small ledgy things for feet. You could easily you could get a up on the slabby bit at the bottom, which is quite safe.
Like some very Astrid things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could stand up onto the little led. It's about this wide. It's quite flat. And then there are some little side pulls and things, and then you can put your hands in the dishes of the pod, and you
And then
if you don't lose your nerve, you're fine just standing up.
I think the next job is work the move, see if it actually is possible. Because yeah, the first time I went down, I thought, yeah, that'll be fine.
I would do it
this time. I was like, oh, we're gonna have to do that.
I would do it on top rope. Actually, drop a dynamic rope down from the top and work them properly.
So,
rather than having to worry about shock load and shit like that.
One thing Alcus had said is, I'll just do it in the best way that gives us the best chance of actually doing it.
It was possible to climb this thing, and it was one of those moments where you sort of realize, my goodness, like, we could actually do this. This isn't just us kind of playing around on an abseil, like, we might actually be able to climb this.
Hoping everything sort of works out. I think could be like an amazing day.
Or it could just
the idea of topping out is in my head is just incredible. But yeah, obviously there's a lot that could go wrong, and it's just trying to make sure we've got everything in place ready before we go.
Yeah, it could be a late night. Pull up an early start. Hopefully we'll get a good night's sleep tonight. Eat well, take it easy, and everyone stay safe, because it's not worth doing if people are going to get hurt.
Like, it's just the fear of unknown, in that the pitches we have tried, like, I'm quite confident we'll do the cracks pitch. I'm kind of confident I might fall off on the bridging out the fucking off width, but I just do not know much about the first pitch, even though I have up-down the bustle thing.
So, having not had any sleep, I got out of bed. Usually a one night's sleep like I can go without, but with the accumulation of the 4 days, I was just absolutely drained and in zombie mode.
However, I was feeling absolutely fine. In fact, I was both really psyched and actually not tired.
Feeling psyched?
Yeah, I actually am.
I got down, I guess have food and drink, and he perked up a bit, and I guess we just decided to change the pitches so that I would get to do the first pitch, which is the corner crack, and then the slab pitch. The first pitch, however, I had actually never seen before. In that, I mean, I had looked at it from the ledge going, yeah, there's a crack, but having already been told that that's fine, I wasn't really worried about it, so I hadn't paid that much attention, which meant that that bit was onside, which was actually really good. The climb starts about halfway along the midway ledge of the mountain. There is a big diagonal crack line, so you set up belay there. You start going up the diagonal until you can break along the actual face on some crimps and flakes until you get onto a boulder in the bottom of the main corner crack. You go up the corner crack using a combination of bridging and jamming, occasionally using the face.
This looks interesting.
You have to sort of bridge, find jumps, switch back to bridging, switch back to cracks, keep alternating between the two constantly all the way to the top.
I'm jamming pretty much every move of this. I'm glad I taped.
At times it feels so secure that you can sort of run it out a bit, but then that bites you in the ass because you get a bit higher and realize that, oh, I really should have placed it because now it's not secure.
This is out there. This is definitely out there.
If you're trying to put gear in, you cannot actually simultaneously have your left hand in the crack and actually get the reach to get the cam in because of your shoulders just hit the sidewall. So I ended up with a lot of faff trying to get that cam in and fumbling because I didn't have full control of what my arm was doing because it was jammed against the rock. eventually managed to get it in and clip it.
Oh my. Super strange placement, that was really scary. Oh, and it's next to a jug! What the f***? I hate it when this happens. For f***'s sake. Oh. Oh my goodness. Hey.
There is a pitch that tops out onto a ledge above the top of the crack. Then you traverse along some rather unprotected slabs.
I had like a relatively easy traverse pitch, but it involves sort of climbing over Alkis out of the crack onto a ledge, and like mantling out onto this dusty ledge was quite awkward when I don't want to factor 2 onto Alkis.
Then you get to a hole, which is the belay for the third pitch, which is the crux pitch. Ollie found an utterly laughable placement for a size 1 super light rock that well, would take body weight. I'm not entirely sure it would stay in to take anything more than body weight, but it was one of those where, well, it's in, so there is a piece of gear. The next belay, you have an off-width crack. You can get a really wide bridge between the face of the crack and the wall behind.
Yes, come on. Yes.
Once you get the finger jug, you match it, mantle onto a slab, and you end up in a pod. It is a really, really high foot, and you really rely on well, basically arse and back friction on the rock, so, until you can actually get your foot on something solid. It's a bit more secure and involves less smearing and trusting yourself on weird side pulls.
There's a pair of jams over the top.
Where?
In the horizontal break. Horizontal break's a magnificent jump. Yes, come on. Yes, yes.
Fucking hell.
Yes!
Yeah, man!
Yes!
Oh, cheers for the pizza.
It's in the fucking bag, man!
Oh, no. Nice, man. Well done. He's on the ledge, Alkis. I hope you don't have to test that. I don't think we were going to do it today.
Well, scream or something, come on.
It's past the point. If I was fresher, I could get a scream out.
Come on, Alkis!
to us. We're out. Yes.
It's done. It's done.
Give us a
Thanks
fist
so
bump,
much, guys.
Both of you, give us a fist bump. Yes!
Go, go, go. I was like dreaming of finding something exactly the right grade that we'd be able to do, and it took longer than I expected, unfortunately, but I can't believe it. And it's good all the way.
It's good all the way. It's exactly as hard as it needs to be considering where we are. Okay, does anyone have any water?
Yeah. Hey Matt. How you doing? I'm doing amazing. Why is that? Because it feels incredible. Like, and I keep getting bursts of laughter, like intermittently, like once something happens. To see it all work, like as it was supposed to, I can't believe it. I thought we'd do 2 pictures and then like, and then get stuck to it or something, or like to be drained, or the cameras would have knocked something down and it wouldn't have been possible. I don't know. But it's done.
Yesanthus told me there has never been anything like this done here before, for sure. He was just like, nope, no one has ever done that before, once I explained to him what wood leading was.
We came on this trip only being able to climb to a certain difficulty and not having done this before, and we came looking at this line up the tooth thinking, oh, we might be able to have a go at that. But to find something that we can do in the way that we know how, just amazing. And it was right at the limit of what we'd be comfortable with. And it's just good climbing, every part of it. It's got every different type of climbing that you could want.